Batswana, welcome to Malaki, Monyamane's book review. I am Kgomotsego John. We are live from Thomas Inn in Maung, Botswana. Today we are going to unpack this book that I had a privilege to review it even before it was released. The book is called It Never Rains, but it paused. I believe that you've heard about it, you've seen it, probably you might have read it. So today I'm privileged again to have this man, the author of this book, to come and unpack and tell us the mystery behind this beautiful fiction book. And I'll let him introduce himself. Firstly, sir, let me welcome you and say congratulations. Can you just briefly, before we even get into this book, tell us about yourself? Who is Malaki Monyamane?
Thank you so much. Welcome viewers to the book review. My full name's Author-Nnyaladzi Monyamane. I come from Tutile village and I am Botswana, and my profession is an economist, but I have a hidden talent in writing. That is why I wrote this book when I was about 17 years in 2001. And by that time, I had closed my junior secondary school. I had a lot of time that I didn't know what to do with it. Because I loved writing compositions at junior school, I got this chance to think about starting a novel, but not only starting a novel. This is based on what we see surrounding us. This is based on our daily lives, and this is based on the traditions that we brought up, seeing, and the beliefs, the religions such as Christianity. So I thought, let me put up a book that will talk to our society and talk to our future, talk to our past.
All right. Let me just say, I love it when you say you started this book when you were 17. That's news to me. And that when you had nothing to do, but you felt, I should start writing. And I just want to really fix my focus to the title of this book. It never rains, but it pours. And I really want to know the inspiration behind the name of the book before we even open even a chapter.
Yes, great. Actually, let me just highlight that this book was launched in December 2023. As I told you, I started it in 2001. So it took me more than 20 years to actually publish this book. So I'm very honored. Going back to the title, It Never Rains, but It Pours. This is an English saying which says that when things happen in a bad way, they tend to follow each other in that way. Or conversely, when things happen in a good way, they tend to follow each other in that good way. So in this regard, this is a case where we see things following each other in a bad pattern, where we see things like generational cases inspiring things to happen that way. Family foundations inspiring things to happen that way. So I'm going to unpack how it was raining. And it never rained, but it poured by using real life scenarios and fictional characters. Yes.
I love that because when I first read this book, I was like, okay, when we think rain, normally we think this is something, a blessing. Home. So we did not understand the context, but I believe now viewers at home, you get to understand the context, the meaning of this book. Now we are going to get in the book. When we get in the first chapters of the book, from just the beginning, we see a beautiful love story. I believe that if people have read or if you've not read, well, let me tell you, we see a beautiful love story between Lesedi and Ishmael, who you will get to talk about as we continue with the interview, right? We see them having this beautiful love story, which turns sour when things does not go well for Ishmael, right? Where the story unfolds, we see also Boto, who went to a traditional doctor. And then after that, we follow that Boto's destiny was actually tempered with when she was young. So maybe can you really explain to us what that was really about? Like how the story started to how it ended. There was just too much twist and tense, and it really, if I was the reader, like I was left hanging like, what's going on here? There was a point I was really confused.
Yes.
So maybe if you can just explain.
Yes. No, like you rightly said, Kgomotsego, we see childhood friends, actually Ishmael and Boot. They grew up together as children who were playing together in front of their parents. We know this happens a lot. And over time, these kids become teenagers and they develop feelings for each other. They fall in love and then they actually grow in their relationship in front of their family to a point where we see now Ishmael is now at the university, and then Botu, she has also finished her secondary school. Unfortunately, she didn't do well in her senior secondary school exams. She was not fortunate to go to the university. But now, as life might have loved it, then Ishmael continued with his studies. But in the process, he met a new girl, Lisedi, like you said. Lisedi is a very, funny character. Not sure if I can say funny or I would say tricky character, but we're going to unpack that. So in the process, Ishmael ditches his childhood lover for this new girlfriend, Lisedi, because they went to the university together. They are smart, they are into the same profession together. They feel they have a common goal so that they can settle. But on the other hand, now Ishmael has invested maybe around 20 years of his time into Botu. And now this thing doesn't settle well with Botu because she had known this guy as a mentor, as a lover, as a friend. She's known him throughout his life. And with ladies, they tend to really commit when it comes to committing. And then she was very disappointed when she got the news through a letter. Like we know in the past, we used to write each other a letter, put it via post, or we send a friend to deliver the letter. So this letter was delivered to Botu, who wasn't really happy. And she said it in her words that a woman's heart is a witch, meaning that she was really upset, and then she had to consult a traditional doctor after getting advice from other friends. Yes.
So now I think when we read this book, we see a lot of elements that talk of love.
Yes.
We see a lot of elements that talk of traditional doctors. We see a lot of elements that talks of religion. Can we just take it to real life issues? Because when I was reading this book, I related a lot because we are Africans.
Yes.
And as Africans, so go na le dilo tsone tse tsa gore kana o le monyenyane o dirile 1, 2, 3. So as your life unfolds, people have tampered with your destiny when you are young. So whatever happens to you when you are grown is a result of what happened. So how did the writer incorporate this fiction? But I don't think it's fiction because those are real life issues.
Exactly.
So what was the inspiration behind that? Was it because of what we go through as African countries? I think this whole saga did not just start from love because it seems like also somebody tampered with her destiny.
Exactly.
And they used love because as we all know, love can fuel a lot of things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much, Kgomotsego. Just to say, I grew up in a Christian family. My grandmother was a pastor, and I really adopted her values when it comes to perceiving life. And I also grew up to see people that they were well off when we were very young. But as time went on, things got mixed up.
Yeah.
They become the unfortunate ones. People start to go on the street, they are unemployed, but we knew that these people, when they grew up, there was a future, bright future, exactly, like you're saying. So now, as I was sitting down, I asked myself a question: why are these things happening? Is there a relationship between traditional beliefs and Christianity? Because as you may know, Africans, Razama, Razama. So it's either you go to a traditional doctor or it's either you consult the God. So it's two ways, or it's either you are in between. There are some people actually I've conversed with them, they told me I'm in between. I do not follow God, I do not follow any traditional doctor, I'm just me. So the question is now in the African way, where do you fall? Because we've seen in this book, Botu, from there, she was destined to be a doctor, but the aunt or her mother's sister was a witch in the African way. So she managed to transfer the destiny right during birth with another newborn in that maternity room to transfer their destinies so that Botu can now be this lady who is not destined to be married, who is very unfortunate, who doesn't make it in life, who doesn't know where she's going actually. So we really see this actually in chapter 10 of the book, where we see the destiny being transferred. And then in the process of doing that, we see Botu having a character, which was seen by a pastor actually in chapter 10, who saw a vision that actually a destiny was transferred during birth. This girl was supposed to be a doctor, but was transferred with another girl who was supposed to be nobody else, who had a snake spirit behind her. So we see that these things happen the African way. But then again, we see the same pastor delivering both, having a vision and delivering and saying, I've restored your destiny because it was stolen from you. Actually, I was just trying to show that we are living in these two forces that are very powerful, by the way. If somebody goes to a traditional doctor, they say words, they believe in those words. Those things will actually happen in the African way. Similarly, if someone goes through the same Christianity rule and also prays about it, says those words, things are reversed, things are revealed. So this is Africa, this is what is happening, and we cannot beat about the bush about it. So what basically the book is saying is trying to show the correlation to traditional beliefs and Christianity, to say if you are unlucky, people cannot be unlucky all the time.
Yes.
We have families, people are not married. It's a pattern, people not getting married. It's a pattern, people not getting employed. So this book is trying to say we need to go back to trace. We need a traceability study. We need to study what happened, what exactly happened on day one. Actually, before we were born, what actually happened? Who said something that is trying to destroy my life? So the book is just trying to show that we are living with these two forces, and these are powerful forces.
That's true.
Yes.
This book will have you, reflecting on a lot of things,
Right.
and will have you saying, "Yeah, ne, that's right." Because when I read it, also I felt like the main character Ishmael. I felt like this man needs a break from whatever he's going through, and I could relate with just people around my life, and I could see the patterns that this pattern goes. So now I'm really interested also in the fact that Boto, it's like she is the main character behind scenes, because whatever that unfolded or whatever that happened to Ishmael, that the reader might want to know, could it be aligned with whatever that happened to Boto? Because somehow, after all those traditional doctors, whatever that happened when we in other chapters, we trace back to the beginning to say the misfortune that happened to Ishmael, could it be traced back, or Ishmael also had his destiny tampered with somehow?
Right. So that is a trivia. I've left it open to the readers to actually decide on what happened. Yes, one reader told me that was it because Butu actually went to Matoma Ibit, the traditional doctor. Is it the main reason we are seeing Ishmael suffering, being put in prison, wrongly accused of killing a person, and the fiancé actually leaving her to get married to another new guy? So somebody saying, is it because of the doctor? Then the other reader said, is it because Ishmael had a scene where he hit a cow? In our tradition, when you kill a cow or you hit a cow, it's a big thing. A cow in Africa is a sign of what? So he hit somebody's cow and he never apologized about it. And somebody would think that the guy who was offended actually
is the
one who influenced that. But behind the scenes, the whole message is to say, words when they are spoken, things when they are wished for, they actually happen. Like I will go back to say, in the African way, we see things not going well for Ishmael. Mostly because there was a traditional doctor involved, who we don't know what to say it, but she was requested to make her wish in a small traditional pot. Whatever she said in that pot might be the reason why we see Ishmael being the unfortunate guy in the book. Whatever the aunt said to Boto, she will not make it. This child will not make it. This child will not get married. This child will be unfortunate during birth. It might also influence what is happening to Ishmael's life, because he was in love with Buthu, remember? So whatever curse that Buthu had might also affect Ishmael. So I left this as an open book to the readers to try to think and to relate and to conclude, actually, to say, oh, if things are going this way in my life, possibly I can actually, relate it this way.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think I love it that you left us hanging.
Yes.
And I believe that even as you are reflecting on this book, if you got to read it, you'll really understand what these are real life situations that happen to us. And that God is so powerful, and that whatever words that we speak in using our tongues, it can build or it can either destroy, because we see it being unpacked in this book. Okay, so we're going to have a pause, and then after that, we will continue. We're still here. I hope you had a chance to sit back and actually process whatever we've been saying, because it's been a lot. And I just want to highlight that these books are available in Amazon stores. Yay! And you can get them only for $10. How convenient. And in Botswana, we sell them only for $180. So please, I would love to encourage each and every one of you guys, if you've not gotten this copy, why not? What are you waiting for? Because it's a must read. Mr. Malaki, we are continuing with our interview. Now, we're getting into the depth of this book. We are talking about a chapter that stood out for me really in this book, because the chapter that actually stood for me was the part where Jane, just a stranger, comes through daily news, and they see news of somebody who has been, in prison, and they feel like there's been injustice to this case. And this woman is a lawyer. So for me, that stood out for me because my life is a reflection of destiny helpers. I've seen God place people that I didn't even know in my path, and I've seen them taking me to heights. And for me, it's a highlight because I relate better that Ishmael got a destiny helper, or however we can put it, a blessing, however we can just want to put that. So can you just tell me your connection to this book when you read it? Which part do you connect to the most, and maybe why? Because I told you mine. I relate to that one.
Yeah, actually, I would love to add on to your favorite chapter, which is chapter 5, where we saw Jane. She's a lawyer, and then she comes across a newspaper article. She has been following this case where this accused Ishmael is accused of killing a person with a knife. Because we're in Africa here, when you talk about crimes, you talk about knives. In the US, they talk about guns. Here it's knives. I stab you, that. So we come across Jay, who has been following this case. And she discovers that Ishmael's lawyer, who was called Boyd, has deserted Ishmael. He said this case will actually ruin his profession. It's a very tough case, and it shows that it's against Ishmael's favor. From his analysis, he said, I'm not risking my career in this case. I would rather stop it here. You are wrongly accused. I can see it. We don't need to go further. You are the one who actually killed the person. So here comes Jane from Norway. She said, no, this is injustice. Let me approach this guy and offer my services free of charge, or what they call pro bono basis. So she comes across, and then she fights for Ishmael, giving him hope, renewed hope, because he had lost hope that there is nobody. And then going back to my favorite chapter, actually it's chapter 7. Chapter 7, we see Ishmael, who has now started to appreciate the prison life. It was tough when he started in prison. When you read it, you will see the inside of the prison. This is an imaginary story, but I was trying to show that things are not really nice right there in prison. So here, Ishmael meets up with a guy called Ngube. Ngube is from Zimbabwe. So this book, like I said, I started it in 2001. Throughout this years, I would always, relate what is happening in the society. You will see something that happened in 2005. I've infused it in the book. Now, this chapter 7, something that happened in 2007. This is where we saw things getting rough in Zimbabwe. President Mugabe was still in power. We saw a lot of Zimbabweans migrating, running to South Africa, running to Botswana. And these people were associated with crime. So we see Ngube, who is also in prison. From what he's saying, he's wrongly accused of killing a person as well.
Yeah.
So these guys have something in common.
Yeah.
But now, what is very worrisome is that the way he's telling the story, he was found in the scene where a person was, there's something happened, a person was murdered, and because he's Zimbabwean, it's only Zimbabwean, they said he's the one who killed the person. Yeah. So it just goes to show you the stereotypes that happened during that time in 2007. We had a lot of Zimbabweans flocking in Botswana, flocking in South Africa. There was xenophobia in South Africa, people killing Zimbabweans. So this guy is there in prison. He never did anything wrong, and he hasn't seen his family. He actually keeps a photo of his family. He hasn't seen them in all 1 year, more than 1 year. And he's there. But then again, he's saying, I like it here because I can get food. I can eat, I can sleep. But back in my country, there's no food. I suffer. Here, I always find it that I call it home, because home is where you find feeding. You can sleep and eat. In Zimbabwe, there's nothing like that. The cops, if you remember that time, well, that was the time where the cops were very brutal and the like. So, and what he's saying, he has been deported back to Zimbabwe several times. But he found himself jumping over the fence to Botswana because Zimbabwe then wasn't a safe place to stay in. There was hunger. The currency was very low, and inflation was very high. So what I'm trying to say is to show you that we have people like that, no matter difficult it may be in life, but they might find that is where I find it comfortable. So it really touched me that this man is calling prison his home, and actually back home, he doesn't know where the kids are. He doesn't know where the wife are. What are they eating? But he said, at least I'm eating. And he also said he had a qualification as an engineer. So we saw people with masters, people with high qualifications becoming garden boys, becoming head boys, becoming cleaners because of the situation in Zimbabwe. So this book was trying to put real life situations. As you read it, you will reflect. These are things that are happening, but this was fiction. But actually, I wrote this chapter when it was actually happening. And I had a conversation with one guy from Zimbabwe. When I was taking a train, we conversed. He said, I can't go back there. It's tough. Our presence is tough. We don't eat. We are beaten. So I thought, let me put this in a book so that people can actually eat. Yes.
To call it fiction, as Mr. Malaki says. I don't know why he calls it fiction, but you can agree with me that these are real life stories, in fact. Real life stories that when we read this book, we can relate a lot. And also that as you read this book, there's that element of hope that kicks in. Like, there are these two people that have been accused of crimes they did not commit. But we just see that as the story unfolds, these people get to accept their circumstances and they get to have hope that things will be better. In as much as it was so gloomy, in as much as it was so bad, but yet they get to say, there is hope. And I believe that's a take home for you as you are watching this. And there's this saying, when you just read the front of the page, it says, you see it when you do not want it, but the moment you need it, you can't find it. And in the book, it's spoken by somebody. Remember, we are not going to share with you guys everything because we want you to get the book. We see it being spoken by somebody. Most readers will say, why was it spoken by this person, not the main character?
Yes.
So that's where we want you to maybe touch on, not much, just touch on it.
Yes, this riddle, you see it when you do not want it, but the moment you need it, you cannot find it. So these words were said to Ishmael, who was now looking for mercy. Ishmael is just an innocent guy. He thought life is fair. He thought that when you are in trouble, people will come there for you. They will be on your side, provide you comfort and support. But now, here he's stranded in prison. He doesn't have a lawyer, and his fiancée has deserted him. So we are actually talking about mercy. That he's looking for mercy, people or somebody to come to him, to comfort him, to be on his side. So it's just to say that he couldn't find mercy right on his side.
Yeah.
So this is also a saying just to say in general life, sometimes we are relaxed. We tend to think that things are there. You know, okay, you are a student, you think employment is there. You think things are easy. So because you don't want it, you see, you don't want it at that time, you think it is there. But the moment you start to need it,
yeah, like
you cannot find it.
It's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, a pair of socks. You always see a pair of socks everywhere. They're lying there.
Yeah.
So the moment you start saying, oh, I have an important meeting, I have to go, you cannot find the socks. So it's just to say in life, it's like that. Life, it's a circle. When you don't want something, you see it everywhere. But the moment you say, now I'm in need of this thing, you cannot find it.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't want to dwell much into the book because you guys might think, we're not going to get it because they told us everything. But anyway, we have so many reviews of the book, and we've had a chance to go through all those reviews. And one particular review is that the readers wanted to really, we sympathize with the main character, Ishmael.
Yes.
And we just felt like, how the story ended, we wanted more. We wanted to see how light has, brought hope to his life, and now how things will unfold. From everything that he went through, we felt like it can't just end like that.
Yes.
And I think most readers say, do something. So we want part 2. And what do you say as the author? Are you giving us part 2? And what is it that we can expect from part 2? Because it's like we've analyzed and we have in heard how we want things to go for Ishmael.
Yes.
What if in the next chapter we see Ishmael going through another storm? So, yeah.
So, my readers took, on average, most of them 5 hours to finish the book. This is a very good travel companion. Yeah. Whenever you are traveling, get this book, where it's either a flight, a bus, whatever. You're going to take 5 hours. Some took 3 hours. Those who are working will take 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
Because you are working. But they've told me that I never went out for lunch. During my lunch, I would close myself in the office to read this book.
It's a good read. Yeah. Trust me.
Because it's a thriller. Whenever I read this book, it's like it's a new book. Yeah, because sometimes I feel, did I actually write this? Because it's talking to me even after 20 years. I've written this book. So the readers are telling me they need part 2, like yesterday.
Yeah.
So the good news is that we are already working on the cover for the part 2 book. I will reserve the title for now.
Yeah.
But I'll put it up on Facebook once it's ready on the social media platforms. So in part 2, like you rightly said, the way the book finished, I've gotten some feedback. Some saying it's anticlimax. Some saying, you left us hanging.
Yeah.
Some saying, I expected that one to be the killer, not strangers to be the killer.
Yeah.
But we're going to see an explanation of those things in part 2. Because now Ishmael is released from jail, actually. Then people are asking, how is society going to react?
Yeah,
and then we heavily say who is married to a rich guy, but she's still connected to Ishmael through feelings. But now this rich guy is providing for her, but it's kind of not working. And we see Butu, who is now delivered from the spirit that was a curse. Yeah. And now we wonder if she's going to go back to Butu. So all these things are going to be unpacked in part 2. And very interestingly, we are seeing Aunt Taja coming back again. She's 90 years this time around. She's 90 years and like they say, wine, gets better with age. So she's 90 years, the experience in aircraft is going to be amazing.
Wow.
But most interestingly, because Botu now is conscious of what happened to generational cases, she is now ready. She is now going to show her colors as well. And many more things are coming in part 2. I can't wait, even myself, to finish this part 2. But most importantly, you need to have read part 1 so that you can connect part 2. I've gotten reviews. People want a movie from the book. So it's something that I'm still exploring with my colleagues. We need to start, thinking ahead. And the international market have read this book. It has gone to Dubai.
Wow.
It has gone to Spain. It has gone to Canada. It has gone to South America. Kenya, for example, has bought 14 copies for their national library of this book.
Beautiful.
Locally, we have sold more than 150 copies. Botswana are showing a lot of support for this book. They are buying the book like never before. So it's an inspiration to continue to write. It's not all about writing, it's about sending the message. People have gotten back to me that after I read your book, I managed to forgive. Because the book talks about forgiveness. The book talks about letting go of the past. So people have gotten to tell me this book is, you thought you were just writing fiction, but this book has touched my life. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So it's very surprising and I'm looking forward.
I'll say the same. After reading this book, you have to process because there's just a lot. I remember after reading it, I'm like, this book is so emotional because I'm an emotional person, so I sympathize a lot. So whatever that was happening in this book, I'm like, I can relate, and it was so personal to me. So that is just how beautiful this book has been, beautifully written. Let me just commend you for the creativity of this book. And I think I'll laugh before we finish. I think when you wrote this book, you didn't think there was going to be a part 2, right? You thought this was just it. But it's so beautiful how people would, make you want to do other stuff. This is also to say it's important to have people around you.
Yes.
When we lift each other, that's the beauty of life. And we can even see the significance of that in this book. That there are people that are willing to go an extra mile for you, whether bahwiti can have bahwiti. That is just how God has made the beauty of humanity. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Malaki, for this beautiful interview. Maybe before we even, close up, will you have something to wrap this with? A few words of encouragement to an upcoming author, or just maybe to just tell us, out of all these books, what is it that your hope and maybe you can also highlight a guy, but guy when they want to get copies.
Yes. First of all, let me start by encouraging the authors out there that be patient. When you start something, make sure you finish it. I finished mine over about 20 years. And I would like to say, don't write big books. Because nowadays we are competing with social media. People spend a lot of time on TikTok, Netflix, on Facebook, and the like. So when you write a book, make sure that it's very small. This is only 121 pages. This is why people take 3 to 5 hours to finish.
This is like a snack.
Exactly. It's a snack. That's how it is. So it's a thriller at the same time. There's an international author called Sidney Sheldon. He's my inspiration. I read his novels while I was young. And those novels, he had a series where novels would follow each other. Right now, we have seen that he's passed away. But a lady came on board to adopt his writing style. He's still writing his book.
Wow.
So I adopted the same thing, and I'm hoping that this book would be a series. Maybe there will be part 3 or part 4. Who knows? So we'll see. As long as I have the energy, I'll continue to write. So I'm saying to the authors or aspiring authors to say, take your time, do your research, write things that people can relate. Don't write fiction. Write things that is a fiction reality. People can actually relate to that. People can actually tell others, I've read this book. It has taught me something. Please let's do like what I've seen in the book. So this book is actually teaching people. It's more like relaying a message. So just to say, I'm going to be having a book presentation or another review at the French Alliance on the 7th of May. in Gaborone.
Yeah.
So I'm inviting you to come to this presentation or a mini launch, because we did the big launch in December actually in Gaborone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be unpacking it actually to the SADC market, to the international market, because I want to see this book moving. My future plans again, I want it to be introduced in the literature for Botswana, for school literature for students. Start reading this book. We grew up reading Chinua Achebe, and the like. So I'm saying here is a local author who wants to introduce the local, concept, what we relate with, African magic, the religion, everything you see in there. So I would like to encourage you to read this book, and I'm hoping that my government will realize this book worth for our students for their development. So with that, I would like to thank you very much, the viewers. Thank you very much, our host, Thomas In, and thank you very much, Kgomotsego John, aka Sunshine. Thank you very much for this great interview, and I'm hoping we're going to come back again to talk about that.
Thank you so much. And maybe you can just tell us where you can find this book.
Yes, this book, we have it in Gaborone Main Mall, Tamba Building. It's just next to the French Embassy and the EU building in Main Mall. 180, get your copy. Or we can deliver if you're around Gaborone. It's also there on Amazon. $9.99 or $10 is there on Writing Kobo. These are online platforms. I've put the book there so that people can get the electronic copy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to say in soft copy.
Yes, soft copy. You get it online.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Malaki Monyamane. If I was you, I was definitely gonna get this book because, like I said, it's a very good read. I'm not just advertising. I'm telling you because I've read it, and my friend got to read it also.
Yes.
In maybe 3 hours, and I was like, and she loved it, and she was looking forward also for part 2. So thank you so much for tuning in. I believe that you got something, and you'll be able to support Mr. Malaki in this journey of being an author and get to read this beautiful piece. Thank you.